Hi, boys and girls. Today we're going to finish Kidnap King by Ron Roy. Chapter 11. The three kids slid Sammy out of the cart and laid him gently on the floor. While Dink and Josh worked on the knots, Ruth Rose pulled away his gag. Before Sammy could speak, Pad waddled over and covered his face with wet dog kisses. Sammy gave Pal a big hug, then he sneezed. They all jumped when the elevator door slid open and Joan Clinker stepped out. When she saw Sammy and the man on the floor, her face turned as white as the sheets. You've found Sammy, Joan Clinker said, rushing to his side. Ain't that cute, the man on the floor said. Well, I ain't taking this rap alone. She's the one that planned the whole thing. We done it together. What are you talking about? Joan said. I've never seen this man in my life. And here's a picture. They just got Sammy out of the cart and everybody's so excited to see him. The man let out a cackle. What a lousy thing to say about your own husband, he said. Just then, the elevator door slid open again. Dink's mother and Officer Fallon stepped out into the hallway. Well, well, Officer Fallon said, good thing I've brought 2 pairs of handcuffs. An hour later, Joan Clinker and her husband Nick were in jail. Dink, Josh, Pal, Ruth Rose, Sammy, and Dink's mom joined Officer Fallon in the police station. You were pretty clever to leave that trail of yellow glass, Officer Fallon told Sammy. Thank you, Sammy said. I hoped Dink would remember that the French word for yellow sounds like Joan. I did remember, Dink said, but Josh's dog was the one who found most of the glass. Josh beamed and patted Pal's head. Good dog, he said. Well, Miss Clinker and her husband sang like little birds, Officer Fallon said. They planned this thing carefully. After they stashed Sammy in the closet upstairs, they brought one of his slipper tassels to the river to throw us off the trail. I heard them talking in the car, Sammy said. They were going to take me back to Kostra. I would have disappeared just like my parents. Then my father's enemies would have taken over our country. Dink looked at his mom. How did you know we were at the hotel? He asked. Well, I met Joan outside Ellie's, Dink's mother said. She said she was happy to be out of the hotel and suggested we go for a walk. Naturally, we talked about the kidnapping and she mentioned Sammy's slipper tassel being found at the river. Which she shouldn't have known about, right? Said Ruth Rose. Dink's mother smiled. Right. And when I happened to mention the trail of yellow glass, she suddenly hurried away. She said she had something important to do at the hotel. So I came right here to see Officer Fallon. Officer Fallon smiled at the 3 kids. But by the time we got to the hotel, you 3 had everything under control. Just then, Officer Fallon's computer said, You've got mail. Oh, I've been waiting for this email, he said. He moved his computer mouse, clicked twice, and smiled. You should all hear this, so I'll read it aloud. The king and queen of Kostra have been found, thanks to your tip. They are alive and well. Both send love to their son. Want him to come home immediately. Everyone in the office cheered. Sammy looked shocked, and then he beamed. But how did you find them? He asked Officer Fallon. Your kidnappers spilled the beans, he said. They were hired by the same guys who kidnapped your parents. They gave me names and places, so I just emailed the Kostran police. The next day, Dink, Josh, Pal, and Ruth Rose said goodbye to Sammy. Each of the kids gave him a wrapped gift. Pal's gift to Sammy was a big wet lick on the cheek. Sammy smiled, then sneezed. 3 weeks later, a large package arrived at Dink's house. It was from Kostra and addressed to all 3 kids. Dibs on the cool stamps, Josh said. Dink opened the parcel and found 4 smaller packages labeled Dink, Josh, Ruth Rose, and Pal. Dink and Josh found small gold kaleidoscopes in their packages. Their names were spelled on the sides with tiny rubies. What'd he send you? Josh asked Ruth Rose. Oh my gosh, she screamed and held up a dark blue robe just like Sammy's. Here's a picture and a note, Dink said. He read the note aloud. The picture showed Sammy wearing the gifts the children had given him, Ruth Rose's sweatshirt, Josh's jeans, and Dink's baseball cap. Suddenly, Pal let out a woof. He wants us to open up his package, Josh said. He helped Pal rip off the paper. Inside, they found a purple velvet doggy sweater. good dog had been stitched into the velvet with gold thread. And there's a picture of Sammy wearing all the stuff that the kids had given him. And this letter says, "Dear friends, I miss you. My father says you can come here and visit someday. You can even bring pal, your friend, Sammy Ben Oz." And that's the end of our book. I hope you've enjoyed it. There's lots of A to Z mysteries. I hope you enjoy reading them. Thanks for listening.